The sun barely pierced the mist hanging low over the Louisiana bayou. Shadows stretched across the damp ground where the silhouettes of forgotten cabins leaned into the morning haze. In the distance, a faint whistle of wind threaded through the cypress trees, carrying whispers of stories never told. Welcome to 1885, a time when hope was fragile and lives were measured in moments of survival. A town once vibrant with children's laughter now stood quiet, its streets overgrown, its fences rotted. Records speak of families torn apart by fate, of notices in newspapers that read runaway fate unknown, the names fading into nothing. Yet among the whispers, the old ones say the lost were never truly gone. At night their footsteps return to the dirt paths. The lanterns flicker in rhythm with unseen hands. The smell of smoke lingers over abandoned homesteads, faint traces of sugarcane fields burned decades prior. A solitary figure bends over a patch of earth, gathering what little can be harvested. Fact census records note the presence of families struggling to rebuild after the reconstruction, with homes claimed by poverty and fire. Folklore children still hear the piano notes echoing through empty rooms, a melody that speaks of longing and resistance. The bayou seems alive, a silent witness to whispered prayers and unseen footsteps. A young boy, barely 10, peers through the reeds, imagining the faces of ancestors who walked these lands before him. Some say the spirits guide him. Others say they watch. The creek runs sluggish, thick with reeds and shadows. Every ripple seems to carry a story, a tale of a man lost to the river while fleeing chains, a woman who vanished after dusk, leaving only the scent of sweet grass behind. Fact Freedmen's Bureau archives document these disappearances, often marked as untraceable, the records sparse and cold. Folklore locals recount ghostly lanterns bobbing on the water, leading travelers away from danger or toward it, no one certain which. Each account builds on the last, layering the mundane with the spectral history with memory. In the distance, the remnants of a plantation house rise like a monument to endurance. Its wooden beams warped, its windows darkened, yet the hearth seems to sigh in rhythm with the wind. Fact land deeds and maps confirm the site's abandonment shortly after the 1870s, with families migrating toward towns that promised freedom yet delivered struggle. Folklore storytellers speak of nights when the enslaved once marched in spirit drums, unheard but felt in the chest, guiding them across invisible paths. The boundary between the real and the imagined blurs, and the land itself remembers. Before we proceed, take a moment. Imagine standing here where the soil remembers every footstep, where the air carries the weight of names long erased. Leave a comment. Where you are listening from the hour, the way the wind moves across your room. The ghosts of history are patient. They linger, waiting. The first light stretches across the bayou, illuminating the twisted branches like reaching arms. A dogwood blooms defiantly near the broken fence, its petals stark against the muted landscape. Fact diaries of ex-slaves mention this very stretch of land, the struggles to cultivate it, the persistent effort to survive. Folklore elders say the flowers bloom not just for the living, but for those who never made it home. Each dawn carries with it the echo of footsteps, laughter, tears, and song. This is Louisiana in 1885, the intersection of reality and memory, of flesh and spirit, where stories begin and the past refuses to remain silent. The morning mist clung to the wooden planks of the cabin porch. Its timbers sagged under decades of storms and neglect. Inside, the faint aroma of dried herbs lingered, remnants of a life once dictated by toil and resilience. Outside, the ground was uneven, marked by footprints long faded into memory. Every step whispered stories of children running barefoot across the mud. Fact property records from 1885 show ownership changes that reflect the instability of freedmen rebuilding their lives. Folklore elders tell of tiny hands reaching from the shadows at night, guiding lost wanderers to safety. Smoke from distant hearths mingled with the fog, curling like spirits above the bayou. The wind carried fragments of conversation, broken syllables of dialects that refused to vanish. Fact oral histories collected by WPA writers document these precise exchanges, noting the resilience of community under oppression. Folklore songs hummed at dusk were said to hold hidden messages, warnings carried across the fields. The interplay between recorded history and whispered legend blurred the line between what was real and what was remembered. A rickety fence separated the cabin from the thick forest beyond. The trees stood like sentinels, their roots twisted as if holding secrets in the soil. Fact-escaped slave notices often referenced these very woods, describing them as both refuge and peril. Folklore children spoke of night walkers' shadows that guided or misled travelers. The forest breathed quietly alive with the echoes of footsteps long gone, of whispers trapped in bark and moss. The creek nearby gurgled over rocks murky and slow. Fish flickered beneath the surface unseen but felt by the ripple of water. Fact environmental records suggest the creek provided essential sustenance and transport routes for the community. Folklore legend claimed the water carried the voices of ancestors, whispering guidance to those who paused long enough to listen. Every bend of the creek seemed to hold a story, a warning, a memory. The fields stretched outward, dotted with patches of sugarcane and tobacco. Fact plantation ledgers indicate the crop yields barely sustained the families requiring backbreaking labor. Folklore. The wind through the cane was said to carry lamentations of the enslaved echoing across time. Children played among the stalks, imagining themselves invisible to overseers, heroes, and stories passed down. Each rustle of leaves became both warning and wonder. A battered wheelbarrow leaned against the cabin, its handles worn smooth. Fact archival photographs depict similar tools essential in daily survival and cultivation. Folklore villagers whispered that spirits sometimes guided the load, ensuring crops survived storms and frost. Every dent and scratch on the wood held memory, a trace of the hands that used it. The mundane became sacred under the weight of history. Birdsong pierced the mist, sparse, melodic, almost surreal. Fact naturalists noted the prevalence of mockingbirds and cardinals, their calls marking time across the settlement. Folklore elders insisted the birds repeated messages from ancestors, mimicking words meant only for the living to hear. The air trembled with anticipation, every note carrying meaning beyond sound. Inside the cabin, a fire crackled softly, smoke rising through the gaps in the roof. Fact diaries from freedmen describe such hearths as the center of survival storytelling and planning. Folklore ghostly figures were sometimes said to appear near the flame, offering guidance or warning of approaching danger. Shadows danced across walls, blending reality and memory seamlessly. The ground was damp from last night's rain. Fact soil studies confirm this region retained moisture, influencing planting cycles and daily life. Folklore puddles were said to reflect the unseen, showing visions of those who had passed before. Children peered into the water, swearing they glimpsed figures moving beneath the surface. Each reflection held possibility, fear, and fascination. Footsteps approached along the dirt path, faint and careful. Fact Freedmen's Bureau reports cite patrols and community movements along similar roads, monitoring safety and trade. Folklore elders told of phantom travelers who walked unseen, delivering messages or omens. Every crunch of earth beneath boots became layered with anxiety and anticipation. The sun broke partially through clouds, illuminating the cabin in soft light. Fact meteorological records indicate this region experienced frequent fog, affecting visibility and perception. Folklore. Early morning light was said to reveal spirits only to those ready to see, blending the living and dead. The settlement appeared alive, a stage set for tales both mundane and miraculous. A rocking chair sat empty on the porch. Fact household inventories from the era list such furniture symbolic of rest and endurance. Folklore villagers believed the chair sometimes rocked itself, a sign of a spirit's presence or approval. The air carried tension, the pause before a story's revelation, waiting for ears to hear. Clotheslines sagged under the weight of patched garments. Fact clothing remnants indicate scarcity and resourcefulness among freedmen, often mended repeatedly. Folklore some stitched patterns were said to encode messages, maps, or warnings to those who could read. The domestic space became a canvas of survival and subtle communication. A cat slinked along the cabin's perimeter, ears pricked. Fact pets were common, offering companionship and protection in precarious times. Folklore animals were believed to sense spirits, first acting as guides or guardians. Every movement seemed deliberate, a subtle signal in the layered reality of the bayou. Nearby, a small garden struggled under partial sunlight. Fact journals confirm families cultivated vegetables and herbs for sustenance, adapting to soil and climate. Folklore. Certain plants were planted intentionally to protect against malevolent spirits or bring luck. The act of cultivation became ritual, each seed a prayer. The distant church bell rang softly echoing across the settlement. Fact church records document gatherings central to community cohesion, moral guidance, and cultural continuity. Folklore bells were said to call spirits to witness bridging life and afterlife. Sound and silence mingled, layering perception and memory into the morning air. Footprints in the mud told of passage, arrival, and departure. Fact records of migration and movement highlight resilience, survival, and adaptation in post-Reconstruction Louisiana. Folklore locals claim some prints were left by those who had passed a silent testimony to presence beyond death. Each imprint became a story unto itself, marking the land with echoes of lives lived. Smoke from a distant chimney hinted at cooking or warmth. Fact foodways documented in diaries illustrate diet resourcefulness and cultural transmission. Folklore aromas were sometimes associated with spirits both comforting and ominous. The olfactory layer added depth to the visual and auditory experience of the landscape. A child's doll lay in the grass, worn and abandoned. Fact personal belongings often endured hardship, weather, and loss, reflecting the fragility of daily life. Folklore toys were said to carry the essence of the owner, protecting them when they slept. Objects transformed into symbols, bridging tangible reality and memory. An old well stood near the cabin, water dark and reflective. Fact wells were critical sources of life, carefully maintained and shared among families. Folklore, some believed the water mirrored the past, showing visions of ancestors or warnings of danger. Every bucket drawn carried more than water, it carried history. Lanterns hung by doorways, unlit yet ready. Fact lighting relied on oil and candles, essential after dusk for safety and community. Folklore lanterns guided spirits, marking thresholds between worlds. Even unlit, their presence suggested vigilance and anticipation, a bridge between day and night. The horizon hinted at storms approaching, clouds heavy and low. Fact weather patterns impacted work travel and survival. Diaries note planning around rain and heat. Folklore storms were often interpreted as signs, omens, or messages from unseen forces. Nature itself became a participant in the unfolding narrative. Whispers traveled through the trees, barely audible yet persistent. Fact accounts of communication among settlements show subtle signals passing information through call and code. Folklore whispers were attributed to spirits conveying warnings, hopes, or guidance. The line between fact and folklore blurred completely, the landscape alive with stories waiting to be heard. Night descended slowly over the bayou, a velvet shadow swallowing the edges of the cabins. Fact WPA interviews recount nights filled with unexplained disappearances, children missing only to return days later with no memory. Folklore locals whispered of phantom footsteps echoing across the mud, never matching the living. Every creak of timber and ripple of water seemed magnified in the darkness, heightening tension. A sudden gust rattled shutters, scattering leaves across the worn path. Fact weather journals described frequent storms, sudden wind shifts that often coincided with strange events. Folklore, some believed the wind carried voices urging or warning travelers to change course. The air felt alive, charged with unseen energy, the boundary between reality and spirit thin. In a nearby field, a young girl vanished between stalks of sugarcane. Fact archival police reports note several unexplained disappearances during harvest seasons. Folklore children claimed a shadowy figure guided them to safety or led them astray depending on their courage. The cane swayed silently, hiding mysteries in its green maze. Footsteps approached the edge of town. Fact census and property records confirm itinerant families passing through the area, often without documentation. Folklore villagers said these travelers were sometimes spirits themselves, testing the living. The sound of approaching boots blended with whispers carried by the fog. A man appeared on this creek bank searching for lost livestock. Fact diaries record the struggles of sustaining herds amid disease and theft. Folklore, some claimed spectral animals roamed the land, guarding hidden treasures or guiding the faithful. Every snap of a branch seemed like a signal, intentional or imagined. The church bell tolled unexpectedly. Fact bell towers served as communication hubs, marking time, signaling events or emergencies. Folklore ringing without cause was interpreted as a summons for souls to gather, a call bridging worlds. Townsfolk paused, listening to the resonance, feeling unease settle in their chests. A distant cabin glowed briefly with candlelight. Fact residents recorded solitary lights during power outages or rituals often linked to family observances. Folklore, The glow was sometimes attributed to protective spirits ensuring children slept safely. Shadows danced on walls, stretching and bending, hinting at forms unseen. A runaway slave notice fluttered in the wind, pinned to a weathered post. Fact newspapers carried these advertisements, fate unknown, scrawled alongside names and features. Folklore whispers claim the subjects continued their journey guided by unseen hands. The paper trembled in the breeze, a silent testimony to lives in motion. From the forest edge, drums echoed faintly. Fact accounts from soldiers describe nightly drills, unexpected alarms, and phantom battalions appearing in reports. Folklore villagers spoke of spectral marches, troops visible only from the corner of the eye, passing silently under the moon. Each beat reverberated through mud and roots. A woman tended her small garden under the moon. Fact crops were essential to survival. Diaries described careful planting, watering, and harvesting. Folklore, planting certain herbs was believed to protect against evil, attract blessings, or honor ancestors. Every leaf seemed to quiver with latent energy, alive with possibility. A child's laughter echoed near a broken fence. Fact census records confirm the presence of large families, often children playing freely, yet under constant threat. Folklore, the sound was said to attract spirits or mislead them, a charm of innocence. The fleeting echo vanished as quickly as it came. A lantern flickered along a muddy path. Fact lighting was sparse, relying on oil or tallow, creating pockets of visibility. Folklore lanterns guided the departed or misled the unwary, acting as markers of invisible boundaries. Its glow danced across puddles, revealing shapes that might have been real or imagined. The creek reflected the starlit sky undisturbed. Fact waterways were lifelines, but also sites of accidents, drownings, or mysterious disappearances. Folklore spirits of the water were said to swim beneath, watching, waiting. Ripples carried stories of both survival and loss. From the distance, a church service concluded. Fact records note evening gatherings, spiritual music, and communal prayers as anchors of culture. Folklore hymns could summon visions or manifest protective forces. Music floated across the settlement, mingling with wind and mist. A wooden bridge creaked under unseen weight. Fact construction accounts describe aging infrastructure susceptible to decay and collapse. Folklore crossing at night was dangerous, as spirits sometimes lingered beneath, punishing the careless. Each plank groaned like a warning. Smoke rose from a distant chimney, twisting into the dark sky. Fact hearths provided warmth, cooking, and gathering spaces. Diaries recount their centrality. Folklore smoke was said to carry prayers, guide ancestors, or reveal hidden presences. The scent mingled with earth, rain, and decay. The edge of the bayou shimmered faintly. Fact environmental notes describe water reflecting moonlight, creating illusions of movement. Folklore reflections sometimes showed faces of those lost, warning the living. Eyes strained to perceive reality amid shifting light. A dog barked, breaking the silence. Fact animals offered protection, companionship, and alert signals. Folklore dogs were considered mediums, sensing spirits before humans could. The echo seemed both reassuring and ominous. Footsteps of a visitor crunched in mud. Fact itinerant tradesmen, preachers, or travelers often passed through unannounced. Folklore some claimed these were wandering spirits or messengers of fate. Each step brought tension, curiosity, and fear. A diary lay open in the cabin, pages worn and ink faded. Fact, personal records revealed daily struggles, observations, and losses. Folklore. Some pages were said to contain secret incantations or hidden messages. The words seemed to breathe, connecting past and present. A faint melody drifted from an abandoned piano. Fact instruments were central to cultural expression. Recordings note songs of sorrow, hope, and resistance. Folklore music could summon spirits or relay ancestral messages. Notes lingered, almost tangible, in the night air. A sudden rustle in the underbrush. Fact wildlife activity was common, sometimes misinterpreted as human presence. Folklore rustling signified spirits passing unseen, observing, or testing the living. Hearts raced in anticipation, senses heightened. The horizon hinted at an approaching storm. Fact meteorological accounts described frequent sudden weather changes. Folklore storms were omens, messages from the beyond, signals of change or danger. Thunder rolled softly, a drumbeat of the unseen. Lanterns in windows flickered simultaneously. Fact multiple households reported disturbances, unusual lights or electrical anomalies. Folklore villagers insisted spirits communicated through light coordinating movements across space and time. Shadows merged and separated, creating fleeting visions. Whispers traveled on the wind, barely audible. Fact oral histories record stories passed quietly, shared only among trusted ears. Folklore these whispers were attributed to ancestors carrying warnings, advice, or remembrance. The line between tangible reality and spectral influence dissolved completely. The morning fog thickened, hugging the remnants of cabins long abandoned. Fact Reconstruction-era surveys note many families displaced their homes, claimed by fire or neglect. Folklore whispers tell of spirits lingering where laughter once echoed. Each breath of wind carried a memory heavy and palpable. A torn ledger lay exposed in the dirt. Fact Military and Freedmen's Bureau records list names marked fate unknown. Folklore. It is said these individuals march nightly in spectral formation, unseen yet present. Shadows seemed to stretch from the pages, merging past and present. Footsteps echoed along the creek, uncertain and fleeting. Fact travel logs confirm that paths along waterways were dangerous, often patrolled or abandoned. Folklore travelers reported hearing phantom guides leading or misleading them through reeds and mud. The water mirrored the tension, a silver ribbon of mystery. A distant drumbeat vibrated through the bayou. Fact small militia units documented night exercises, often misreported as alarm incidents. Folklore drums were interpreted as messages from the ancestors, a cadence of warning or reassurance. The rhythm pulsed through trees in sync with unseen hearts. A cabin door creaked, swinging in the wind. Fact diaries reveal that doors often warped with humidity, making noises that startled the unwary. Folklore, the same creak was considered a greeting or a warning from spirits dwelling within. Each sound became layered with meaning. Lantern light flickered across a broken fence. Fact lighting relied heavily on oil lamps susceptible to gusts and drafts. Folklore spectral lanterns were said to guide souls home or warn of approaching danger. The glow cast shadows that seemed almost alive. A child appeared at the edge of a field. Fact census records show children were often left to play unsupervised while adults labored. Folklore, the child was believed to sometimes be a vessel for ancestral visions. His tiny figure seemed to move with a purpose beyond awareness. From the forest, a soft hum rose. Fact villagers sang spirituals to pass time and maintain cultural continuity. Folklore. Some notes were said to awaken memories of the past, calling spirits near. The melody wove itself into the rustling leaves. The river swirled, reflecting moonlight unevenly. Fact historical accounts note sudden flooding, changing the landscape and erasing paths. Folklore. The river was believed to carry messages from those lost, visible only in reflections. Each ripple carried layered stories. A horse neighed, breaking the quiet. Fact livestock was essential to survival, and their behavior often noted in journals. Folklore horses were thought to sense spirits, alerting humans to unseen presences. The sound reverberated across trees and mud. A solitary figure walked along the bridge. Fact travel along infrastructure, like wooden bridges, was risky, especially at night. Folklore crossing at certain hours invited spectral attention, testing courage or morality. Each plank groaned under weight, real or imagined. The horizon glimmered with lightning. Fact storm patterns were well documented, influencing travel and work. Folklore lightning was interpreted as divine or ancestral communication, signaling change or warning. Thunder punctuated the stillness, a heartbeat of the unseen. A journal lay open near a hearth. Fact. Personal records detailed hardship, survival, and fleeting joys. Folklore words were believed to carry protective magic or ancestral wisdom. The ink seemed to move alive with intent. A piano note resonated faintly. Fact instruments were central to cultural expression and resilience. Folklore music could summon protective spirits or recall ancestors. Each note lingered in air thick with anticipation. Smoke spiraled from distant chimneys. Fact fires provided warmth and communal gathering spots. Folklore smoke carried prayers, messages, or warnings. The scent mingled with earth, water, and memory. A shadow moved along the cabin wall. Fact structural instability often caused shifting shadows and noises. Folklore, some claim the shadows were sent by ancestors to watch over descendants. Every flicker held multiple meanings. Footsteps approached silently. Fact visitors or patrols traveled carefully, leaving sparse records. Folklore, some claim these were spectral figures moving among the living. Each step heightened tension, anticipation, and fear. The creek whispered over rocks. Fact waterways were central for life, yet dangerous and unpredictable. Folklore spirits were said to swim beneath, unseen, observing. Ripples reflected moonlight, creating illusions of figures in motion. Lanterns swayed, casting erratic shadows. Fact illumination was scarce and often inconsistent. Folklore lanterns guided or tested spirits, marking boundaries between realms. Light and dark intertwined, reality and legend indistinct. A rooster crowed at the edge of dawn. Fact farm records note the start of workdays and the life rhythm of communities. Folklore, the crow could signify warning or transition, a bridge between night and day life and afterlife. Its echo carried far across the bayou. The wind carried faint whispers. Fact oral histories preserve these tales shared with trusted ears. Folklore whispers carried messages from ancestors, warning, advising, or remembering. The sound seemed to move through time itself. A small chapel bell rang. Fact religious observances were central to survival and cohesion. Folklore bells could summon spirits or mark significant moments beyond the visible world. The tone resonated across both land and memory. The sun rose over the bayou, pale light touching the remnants of cabins long abandoned. Fact historical surveys confirm these settlements remained sparsely populated, many families displaced permanently. Folklore elders say the spirits linger, walking among the reeds, invisible yet present. The land remembered every footstep, every voice. A child's laughter echoed faintly from a broken fence. Fact descendants of these families carried oral histories recounting hardships and survival. Folklore, some claim that laughter is a sign of ancestors watching, guiding the living. Every sound felt like a bridge across generations. Smoke curled from a distant chimney. Fact records show that fires were maintained even in scarce conditions, central to community life. Folklore smoke carried prayers, messages to the departed, protection for the living. The scent intertwined with memory, echoing decades of resilience. The creek shimmered in early light. Fact waterways were vital for travel, sustenance, and connection between communities. Folklore spirits of those lost were said to swim beneath, ever watchful. Ripples seemed to carry history itself, layered and persistent. A lone figure walked the dirt path. Fact. Many families migrated, leaving behind homes and possessions recorded in census and property archives. Folklore travelers claimed they sometimes saw ancestors walking beside them, unseen yet felt. Each step was both physical and spiritual. The wooden bridge groaned under the weight of memory. Fact infrastructure decayed over decades, erasing physical traces of life. Folklore crossing at twilight was considered a ritual passage, a reminder of those who had walked before. The sound became a heartbeat of the past. Lanterns hung in empty windows, flickering with morning light. Fact sparse illumination persisted, highlighting the fragility of daily existence. Folklore lights guided spirits, marking thresholds between worlds. Shadows danced as if telling stories themselves. A garden grew wild, unchecked. Fact cultivation often ceased as families moved or perished, recorded in agricultural surveys. Folklore plants were believed to continue protecting the land and honoring ancestors. Leaves rustled as if whispering secrets from generations past. Footprints in the mud had faded. Fact evidence of passage disappeared over time, leaving little trace for historians. Folklore. Some footprints were said to be left by spirits, reminders of presence beyond death. Every imprint was a story. The bayou mirrored the sky, calm yet reflective. Fact environmental records show shifting water levels altered the landscape continually. Folklore reflections sometimes revealed visions of the past or spirits lingering. Water became a medium connecting then and now. A piano sat untouched, keys faded. Fact musical instruments were central to cultural preservation and storytelling. Folklore melodies could awaken ancestral presence or echo warnings. Notes seemed to linger even in silence. The church bell tolled softly. Fact religious observances maintained social cohesion and spiritual guidance. Folklore bells could summon spirits, mark transitions, or communicate messages from beyond. The sound resonated with both living and unseen. The forest whispered as wind moved through cypress trees. Fact wildlife and environmental records note frequent rustling and movement. Folklore whispers were interpreted as messages from ancestors or echoes of those lost. Nature itself became a storyteller. A rooster crowed at dawn. Fact, it marked daily life and survival routines. Folklore, the crow symbolized vigilance, transition, or ancestral presence. Its sound carried significance across generations. An old diary lay open in a cabin. Fact, personal accounts recorded hardship, family survival, and moments of joy. Folklore writings could carry protective power or guidance for the living. The pages seemed alive, whispering stories. Footsteps moved along the creek's edge. Fact, migration and movement were essential for survival, noted in historical documents. Folklore spirits were said to accompany travelers unseen but guiding. Each step was part of a continuum. A cat prowled along the cabin perimeter. Fact, animals provided companionship and protection. Folklore pets were believed to sense spirits, first acting as mediators. Its gaze seemed to pierce through time. Lanterns swayed in morning light. Fact, illumination was critical and scarce, revealing the contours of memory. Folklore lights guided the departed or marked sacred space. Each flicker carried layered meanings. The horizon hinted at storms. Fact, weather shaped daily survival and movement. Folklore storms were omens, signals of change or caution. Clouds rolled as if carrying messages from the past. The wind carried faint voices. Fact, oral histories preserve these tales, often shared cautiously. Folklore whispers carried guidance, warnings, or remembrance from ancestors. They seemed to drift across time. Fields grew over remnants of homesteads. Fact, abandonment allowed nature to reclaim land documented in surveys. Folklore plants and earth held the memory of those who labored. Every leaf, root, and stone became a witness. Children of the descendants still walk these paths. Fact, family records trace lineage and survival across generations. Folklore stories, songs, and ghostly tales continue to echo, connecting past and present. The legacy persists. The sun set over the bayou. Fact, decades of hardship, migration, and resilience left an indelible mark. Folklore, spiritual echoes remain told in songs, whispers, and visions. History and legend merge. You've just listened to a story that never truly ends. Fact, archives confirm lives, struggles, and survival. Folklore ensures memory. Ghosts linger in spirit and song. Follow for the next record from history, and remember, the past still walks beside us. The night deepened over the bayou, stars hidden behind a veil of clouds. Fact, archival weather records describe sudden chilling storms that disrupted daily life. Folklore villagers whispered that storms awakened the spirits, stirring memories long buried. Each gust of wind seemed to carry voices soft and persistent. A diary was discovered beneath floorboards. Fact, entries detailed lost loved ones, fleeting hope, and survival strategies. Folklore, some claimed the words themselves hummed with ancestral energy, guiding the living. The pages smelled of smoke and damp earth, a bridge across time. Footsteps echoed in the dense forest. Fact, patrols, travelers, and itinerants left records of paths and routines. Folklore shadows moved alongside unseen, testing courage and intent. The rustle of leaves became a symphony of past and present. A candle flickered in a cabin window. Fact, lighting was minimal, preserved for nightly gatherings or spiritual rituals. Folklore candles guided spirits to rest or revealed hidden presences. Its glow danced across the mud, revealing shifting shapes. The sound of distant drums rose. Fact, small militia units performed nocturnal drills, occasionally misinterpreted by locals. Folklore phantom battalions marched silently, a nightly ritual of the unseen. Rhythm echoed through trees and reeds. Children played near a broken fence. Fact, census records confirm the presence of families often in perilous conditions. Folklore, some believed the laughter attracted spirits or conversely misled them. Each giggle resonated with centuries of memory. A woman bent over a patch of garden. Fact, crops were critical for sustenance. Diaries describe meticulous care. Folklore, herbs planted to protect the household carried ancestral significance. Each leaf seemed infused with purpose. A faint melody rose from an abandoned piano. Fact, instruments were central to cultural preservation. Folklore melodies could summon protective presences or recall spirits. Notes lingered as if bending space and time. Smoke spiraled from distant chimneys. Fact, homes maintained fires despite scarcity, central to survival. Folklore smoke was believed to carry messages to ancestors. The scent mixed with damp earth, memory, and ritual. Footprints in the mud suggested movement. Fact, migration and travel were constant, documented in property and census records. Folklore, some footprints were attributed to spirits guiding or testing the living. Each step was heavy with narrative. A rocking chair moved slightly on the porch. Fact: structural shifting caused creaks documented in diaries. Folklore: some claim the chair moved of its own accord, a presence watching, approving, or warning. Shadows stretched unnaturally. The creek mirrored moonlight. Fact: water provided sustenance and travel routes. Folklore: it reflected visions of the past ancestors' faces. Ripples carried layered stories, blending reality with legend. A lantern swayed in the wind. Fact: illumination was scarce, revealing textures of decay. Folklore: lanterns guided spirits or marked sacred thresholds. Light danced unpredictably, creating ephemeral forms. The distant church bell tolled. Fact: services preserved cultural and spiritual continuity. Folklore: bells were said to summon spirits or mark transitions between realms. Tone resonated across water and marshland. A horse neighed, breaking silence. Fact: animals were crucial companions and protectors. Folklore: they sensed spirits, first acting as mediums. Its call carried through trees and fog. A sudden rustle in the underbrush. Fact: wildlife activity was constant, occasionally misinterpreted as human presence. Folklore: rustling signaled spirits passing, observing the living. Hearts quickened, senses sharpened. The horizon glimmered with lightning. Fact: meteorological records confirm sudden storms. Folklore: lightning carried messages from the departed, omens or ancestral guidance. Thunder echoed like a drumbeat of the unseen. A piano note resonated faintly. Fact: instruments preserved songs of sorrow and resilience. Folklore: notes were believed to awaken spirits or memories. The sound lingered across empty fields. A diary lay open near the hearth. Fact: entries detailed hardship, resilience, and fleeting joys. Folklore: pages carried protective power or ancestral guidance. Ink seemed to breathe alive with intent. Footsteps approached along creek banks. Fact: travel routes essential for survival documented sparsely. Folklore: spectral companions sometimes accompanied travelers. Steps felt weighted with history. Lanterns flickered in abandoned windows. Fact: illumination sparse, revealing architecture and memory. Folklore: lights guided spirits, marking thresholds. Shadows shifted in concert with legend. The wind carried whispers across the bayou. Fact: oral histories preserved secrets, warnings, guidance. Folklore: voices of ancestors traversed time, mingling with the present. Each sound layered with meaning. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Fact: weather dictated daily life and survival. Folklore: storms were omens, messages, or reminders of ancestors. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the bayou. A rooster crowed at dawn. Fact: it marked rhythms of work and life. Folklore: symbolizing vigilance or ancestral presence. Sound carried far across the wetlands. Children of descendants still walked these paths. Fact: family lineage and survival continued. Folklore: songs and stories kept memory alive. The legacy persisted in footsteps, laughter, and whispers. The sun broke through clouds, casting golden light. Fact: decades of resilience, loss, and migration shaped the land. Folklore: spirits lingered, a silent audience to living history. Past and present converged in the light. The morning sun rises slowly over the bayou, touching the remnants of cabins and overgrown paths. Fact: surveys confirm many communities never recovered fully after displacement and reconstruction. Folklore: spirits are said to linger, walking unseen among the reeds. Memory and legend entwine, persisting through generations. A child's laughter drifts faintly from broken fences. Fact: descendants carry oral histories that preserve survival, struggle, and resilience. Folklore: laughter is believed to summon ancestral protection or to mislead wandering spirits. Every echo becomes a bridge across time. Smoke rises from distant chimneys. Fact: fires remain central to life, warmth, and cooking. Folklore: smoke carried prayers, messages to ancestors, or protection from malevolent forces. The scent mingled with damp earth as if memory itself was alive. The creek reflects the morning light, ripples spreading silently. Fact: waterways sustained life, trade, and travel. Folklore: the water mirrors visions of the past ancestors' faces, appearing briefly, guiding the living. Each ripple carries layers of history. A figure walks slowly along a dirt path. Fact: migration and displacement are recorded in census and property records. Folklore: spirits accompany travelers, unseen but guiding, testing courage and intent. Every step resonates with centuries of experience. The wooden bridge groans under the weight of memory. Fact: decaying infrastructure erased physical traces. Folklore: crossing at twilight is said to honor those who walked before. The creek becomes a heartbeat of the past. Lanterns hang in windows flickering with soft morning light. Fact lighting was scarce, highlighting fragile survival. Folklore lanterns guide spirits marking thresholds between realms. Shadows move in subtle patterns telling untold stories. A garden grows wild untended. Fact abandoned cultivation reflects shifts in population and survival. Folklore plants honor ancestors carrying protective power. Leaves whisper rustling secrets of generations. Footprints in the mud have faded. Fact evidence of passage disappeared over decades. Folklore, some prints are said to belong to spirits marking guidance or warning. Every trace tells a story. The bayou mirrors the sky, calm and reflective. Fact shifting water levels altered the landscape. Folklore reflections reveal visions of the past or lingering presences. Water becomes a medium connecting then and now. A piano stands silent, keys worn. Fact instruments preserved songs of sorrow, hope, and resistance. Folklore melodies awaken ancestral memories calling spirits. Notes linger even in absence. The church bell tolls softly. Fact services preserved social cohesion and spiritual guidance. Folklore bells summon spirits, mark transitions, or relay messages from beyond. Tone resonates across land and memory. The forest whispers through cypress and oak. Fact, wildlife and environmental records confirm constant rustling and movement. Folklore whispers carry ancestral guidance, warnings, or remembrance. The trees themselves seem sentient. A rooster crows at dawn. Fact, it marks daily routines and survival rhythms. Folklore, the sound symbolizes vigilance and ancestral presence. Its call echoes across generations. Old diaries and letters remain. Fact documents detail hardship, joy, and survival. Folklore writings are believed to carry protective power or guidance. Words breathe, connecting past and present. Footsteps along creeks' banks resonate. Fact, travel and migration are essential for survival, sparsely documented. Folklore spiritual companions accompany the living. Every step echoes history. Lanterns flicker in empty windows. Fact lighting reveals architecture and memory. Folklore lights mark sacred thresholds or guide spirits. Shadows merge, blurring legend and reality. The wind carries soft whispers. Fact oral histories preserve guidance, warnings, and memory. Folklore whispers traverse time, speaking to the living. The sound intertwines with history. Storm clouds gather briefly on the horizon. Fact weather dictated life and survival. Folklore storms signal change, warnings, or ancestral messages. Lightning illuminates the bayou, revealing hidden truths. Children of descendants walk familiar paths. Fact lineage continues, families preserve memory. Folklore songs and ghost stories transmit culture and history. Footsteps and whispers carry the legacy forward. The sun breaks fully over the landscape. Fact, decades of survival and resilience shape the environment and communities. Folklore spirits linger, observing, protecting, and guiding. Past and present converge, inseparable. Spirituals rise from hidden gatherings. Fact music preserved culture and resilience. Folklore melodies call ancestors near, reminding the living of their roots. Each note carries weight beyond sound. Ghost stories continue to circulate. Fact oral histories ensure lessons and memories survive. Folklore tales teach, warn, inspire, and connect generations. They are living threads in the fabric of community. You've just listened to a story that never truly ends. Fact archives preserve lives, struggles, and survival. Folklore ensures memory. Ghosts linger in spirit song and whispered tales. Follow to catch the next record from history. Remember, the past still walks beside us.